explosive introduction. Boom! Yeah. Anyway, yes, well, we are on day 59 of the 100 Days of Narration Challenge, and in continuing with Stefan Gagne week, we are going on to one of his next novels, novel series, novella, one of the two, one of those big ones, big words. And this week, no, this is the entire week. Today, we are going to do Anachronauts, which is all about people sort of not really time traveling. It's a let's have a look. Let's have a read of the pardon me, God, I'm burping a lot for these things. Filled with gas. Filled with gas. So Anachronauts, a genre mashup adventure story, starts with a fairy court invading good old America and only gets crazier from there on out. One of the longest running series I've ever written, not me, Stefan Gagne has ever written, complete with retail books, bonus stories, and all sorts of great stuff. So Anachronauts is available for the price of absolutely free from pixelscapes.com, but if you are feeling rather generous and would like to have it in print format or Kindle format, whatever one of the two, you can find those on amazon.com. Just look up the word Anachronauts. That's hard to spell, but you can see it in the title of this video anyway, or in the video itself. So there you are. I don't need to spell it out for you, do I? I'm going to spell it out for you. Anachronauts. Anachronauts. So like the previous things I've written from Stefan Gagne, I'm going to read from the first chapter. It's a good old hook to get you into the series itself. So we'll do that. I had something else to say. Oh, yes. I would like to point out the fact that Stefan and I have worked previously before on something voiceover related a very long time ago. I shall tell you of my connection now. We actually worked on a mod for BioWare's Neverwinter Nights called Elysia Eternum. That was a long time ago. And I played a character called Lance Penderson, some kind of thingamabob thing. It was one of the first mods for Neverwinter Nights to feature voice acting, I believe. And it was very, very crazy for it because, you know, no one expected voice acting in mods back then, because back then if it was more than 10 megabytes big, you know, nobody would download it because, you know, that's crazy, man. Something over 10 megabytes. Whoa, dude, that's way too big, man. Totally awesome. You know, before the whole YouTube thing exploded and everybody was downloading gigabytes of stuff per day, hour, minute, whatever. So yeah, that was the thing we worked on. And he's done a lot of great Neverwinter mods. So if you've got a copy, and I don't know if they will all still run, because BioWare has this habit of obviously updating the engine now and again, and very so often break the code for mods which they officially support, but somewhat iffy support, because they like to break things for the mods, and then you have to keep updating, and in the end, you know, that's a lot more trouble for most mods. In fact, that's what killed a mod that I was really, really happy to be a part of, but unfortunately never went through. It was called Fist of Discomfort, where I played old Sensei-san. It was a tutorial character who taught you how to play the game itself. It was meant to be like a scrolling beat-em-up, like a Double Dragon game inside Neverwinter Nights, which was interesting. Not something you'd think would work in Neverwinter Nights, but it did. It did quite well, in fact. But I was a tutorial person. I explained how to play the game properly, and then I was also the secret character, old Sensei-san's secret character, and I remember the first line for that character is you can play a variety of characters like a ninja warrior or a warrior woman type thing, or I can't remember the other characters, and the first thing you encounter is a village on fire, because that's how most beat-em-ups start, because starts with a crazy crisis situation. Your girlfriend has been kidnapped. Oh no, there's a village on fire, and I believe the sensei's first line was, "This village is currently on fire in a manner which is not likely to be accidental. Fellow senior citizen, who is responsible for this?" And it was going to be a fun silly thing. There was a demo released, but that is probably not going to run because, again, BioWare patched Neverwinter Nights so often that most things don't run anymore. Anyway, I've run my mouth on long enough for this. Jesus. Cross me? God. Just say Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, I've been talking too long. It's about 7 minutes now into this thing, and I haven't actually gotten to reading yet. So let's do that. Let's read Anachronauts. Anachronauts, the First Age, Chapter 1, Anachronisms. And then there's a definition of anachronism. Anachronism, noun, something or someone that is not in its correct historical or chronological context. Chronological, blah. Let's try that again. Or rather, let's keep going. The steady clip-clop of hooves echoed along the roadway. They'd been outfitted with uniquely designed shoes, alloys turned to minimize the impact from trotting along the hardened black surface rather than a more natural dirt path, and the steady puttering of an iron box underneath the cargo holding carriage was reassurance that their heavy load wouldn't be too burdensome on the upward climbs either. A standard arrangement, all told, for industrial hauling in this day and age. The non-standard part would be the driver. She wore a simple brown cloak, suitable for weathering the elements, but even underneath its concealing cloth, it was clear this wasn't the heavy-set, well-armed sort of burly man hauler that usually rode along this route. A head and a half too short and 100 pounds and change too light, to say the least. Not that this deterred the bandits any. In fact, it encouraged them, their leader stepping right out of the tree line, waving for his comrades to join him. Why bother ambushing? A simple human roadblock would be enough for a mere slip of a girl. It wasn't the biggest blunder these generic thugs could have made, but it certainly was one of the classics, right up there with, "He's just one man, we can take him easily," and "Surrender to the likes of you." And here we go. "Hold where you are," the bandit leader demanded, raising his knocked arrow, pulling back the drawstring. "'Twould be unfortunate if I had to end the life of one so young, would it not?" On cue, the carriage rolled to a halt, the driver tugging back on the horse reins. The clip-clopped clipped slightly, clupped once, then stopped. "You would be the Crimson Arrow gang, then?" the girl asked, face partially obscured by the hood, but not her moving mouth, tinged with an unusually blue shade of lipstick. "You've heard of us, then? Of our total control over these wildlands, of how nobody gets through here without paying a toll? Excellent. That will make the task simpler. It seems our reputation has indeed grown," he asserted, swelling with pride. "Now then, there'll be no wood-cutting today, missy. We'll also take any valuables you have, and your horses, and as I am a gentleman, we'll leave one for you to ride off on. Don't worry your pretty little head about that. Oh no, if I may suggest, you might enjoy riding with us onward towards adventure and riches. Far more enjoyable than returning to that pathetic little village." The girl tugged back her hood to get a better look at them, revealing an unusually silvery white hairdo, short and well kept. She studied the man, head to toe, evaluating him before making her query. "Please correct me if I'm wrong, sir, but isn't a bow and arrow a bit of a primitive weapon for your people?" she asked. "I'm not certain why I should feel it's a threat. Certainly the projectile would be quick, but with some skill, avoidable. The other, less pompous bandits promptly raised semi-automatic assault rifles, backing up their leader's preferred huntsman bow. Clicks and clacks of weapons being primed to fire and safeties released punctuated their reply. "I see. That's more in keeping then," she said. "Still, I'm afraid I'm not very concerned about simple kinetic metal pellets. I'd like to point this out because there's still time for you to lay down your weapons and surrender before you have a chance to discover why I'm unconcerned." Before you have to discover why I'm unconcerned. There is no chance in there. I just put that in because it just seemed, what? Why would I put it? Why would I make up words? I don't know. I make up words sometimes. I'm sorry. That's what I do. "Surrender?" the leader asked, trying to hold back the laughter. "To the likes of you?" And then the silvery energy blaster was produced. Ah, she thought, that's indeed more threatening. Before further unpleasantries could be conveyed, she threw off the cloak and became a brief silvery blur, landing neatly in front of the horses and crossing her shiny metal forearm bracers in front of herself. When the weapons opened fire, a surprise reaction to her sudden movement, she hoped, rather than some true desire to maliciously do her harm, one arrow, 16 rounds of armor-piercing lead, and a beam of pure white light as wide as a man's fist were directed her way, and all of them deflected easily by a pair of domed force fields thrown up by her crossed forearms. Let's try that one again. Deflected easily by a pair of domed force fields thrown up by her crossed forearms. "What are you doing, Una? Shoot these idiots!" Another girl's voice called out from within the cargo holder's covered passenger cabin. Wow. I screwed that one up. Another girl's voice called out from within the cargo holder's covered passenger cabin. Damn, it's a long one. Another girl's voice called out from within the cargo hauler's covered passenger cabin. That shouldn't be hard to say. Why is that hard to say? I don't know why that's hard to say. Can you tell me why that's hard to say? Cargo hauler's covered passenger cabin. That's weird. Why am I having trouble with that? That's so weird. Anyway, keep going. The irritated voice had to shout to be heard over the weapons fire. "Emily, if I drop my shields, they could harm the horses," the white-haired girl, hereby named Una, replied. She was holding her ground despite the numerous impacts against her defensive shields, but unable to act beyond that. "Oh, of all the... Fine! Plan B!" And then here is a interesting tactic taken by Stefan here. It's the word animate, only it's upside down, so it's an interesting way to convey like spell language rather than making up gobbly, you know. Just take normal English and just turn it upside down on the page. Or, you know, instead of using Malaysian, which is what Dragonlance does. I'm not sure if you ever knew that, but the Dragonlance novels written by Tracy Hickman and I just had a brain fart. Tracy Hickman and I know the second one. God, no, it's not coming to me. Anyway, the Dragonlance novels, the magic they use, the magic spell incantations, it's Malaysian. It's Bahasa Malaysian from Malaysia. That's what they're saying, or Indonesian. And that's hilarious to me because I used to live in Malaysia, and it's like, that's silly. The spell for darkness is malam, which is basically like night. Yes, he's just... Anyway, keep going. The strange word twisted back onto itself into a language that was no language at all, echoed with a more resounding force and volume than should have been possible within the cabin enclosure. But that sound was then drowned out quickly by the snarling, growling noise of strange creatures waking from slumber with deadly intent on their non-minds. Specifically, a swarm of chainsaws now levitating out of the cabin windows, given magical life which poured forth from both sides of the carriage and honed in on the bandits. The Crimson Arrow Gang had faced down farmers, armed mercenaries hired by farmers, and even some of the more deadly varieties of enchanted beasts the wildlands could have thrown at them. But when a fleet of airborne saws capable of easily slicing through the age-old wood of trees starts menacingly floating your way in full defiance of the law of physics, it's usually time to use the pants lavatory. The panic fire redirected immediately as the pack of animate lumberjacking tools surrounded them, this time aimed at the metal implements of destruction. Not that this had any noticeable effect on reducing the overall lethality of their situation. Bullet impact simply caused the saws to spin in the air a little before resuming. Bullet impact simply caused the saws to spin in air a little before resuming their menacing. A reflective metal surface parried the energy weapon's blast before whirling in a sharp arc to cleave the metal ray gun in twain. A shower of sparks spun. A shower of spucks. Spucks? What's that? That's not even work. Spucks? A shower of sparks burst from the weapon's. A shower of sparks burst from the bandit's hand, the two halves of his stolen gun falling uselessly to the ground. Oddly, the circle of woodsmanly doom had left a gap, one that led down the road, away from the carriage. Seeing an opportunity, the bandits took the better part of valor and ran for their lives, slipping through that crack in the defenses and fleeing. All save the leader, who tried to make a run for it, and faced the saws again for his effort. That let the others run. The bowman wasn't going to be so lucky. Wow. That wasn't part of the text. I'm sorry. Oh, God, burping. Maybe I should just stop drinking soda. Pop. One of the two. I know it doesn't look this way, Una tried to reason while lowering her shields, but honestly, we mean you no harm. All we want is information. I would like to reiterate my suggestion that you surrender. It would make this much easier for everybody involved. I surrender! Oh God, I surrender! The bandit king screamed, falling to his knees and covering his head with his arms defensively. Airborne saws wobbled a bit before collapsing to the ground, enchantment fading. But when the leader opened his eyes and peeked out from under one arm, he now found himself staring at the business end of a surprisingly similar energy weapon to the one his cronies had found, although this one was in the hands of the girl in a metallic dress-like garment. Who put you to this task, sir? Una asked, her voice not the slightest bit fierce, despite this technically being an armed interrogation. We looked into the history of your Crimson Arrow gang. You're petty criminals, survival-oriented, simply stealing to keep your people fed and moderately wealthy. You have no reason to hassle the lumberjacks on their way to the deep forest. There's not nearly enough profit in it. Therefore, our best guess, there's no best in there, our guess is that you were hired. Are we correct? You are correct. That reply hadn't come from the bandit, however. Further down the road, where it was narrowest between two sides of the forest, the trees themselves creaked and groaned, leaning inward. Their branches crossed, forming a natural seat. Perched there upon the branches was a figure, wreathed in summer and autumn, colors of green and auburn. Her leafy feet did not touch the cracked asphalt road. She simply dangled there, idly swinging one leg, her glowing eyes bearing down on the girl. Barken lips parted. You are a long way from home, little animal, she spoke. You have no true stake here. You are no doubt hired to stop my animals, just as I hired mine to stop the ones who harmed these forests. Money. Such a silly human thing. Ah, I'm not familiar with your species, Miss Dryad. Miss Dryad, Una said, assuming it was a formal name. But if I am interpreting correctly, then yes, we were hired to clear the route so the lumberjacks could resume. The wood is needed to build communities down the road, shelters, homes for those suffering in the elements. Sorry, need to scroll down a bit. It's not my fault the animals are ill-equipped to the rigors of the seasons, the Dryad said with a shrug. That doesn't give them justification to murder the trees. It does, however, give me justification to murder the animals. I have declined to, so far, simply turning them away. But now I see you wielding those murdering tools against my pack. I see the time for mercy is at an end. The weeds must be pruned. She held 2 fingers to her lips and whistled in the way the wind slips between the branches on a breeze. Yikes, damn it. She held 2 fingers to her lips and whistled in the way the wind slips between the branches on a breezy day. And there was no the in there. There was no the. I put more the's in there than was absolutely necessary. Try that one again. She held 2 fingers to her lips and whistled in the way wind slips between the branches on a breezy day. The trees began to move, parting the way for figures like her, thin and mobile and leafy, dozens of them, already surrounding the carriage. The girl took a step back, for the first time that day. Wait, please, Miss Dryad, we can come to a compromise. No, we cannot. Slaughter the animals, children. Moving quickly, Una grasped the dial on the back of her blaster. One twist to the right, and it could have the lethal. One twist to the right, and it could have the lethal force needed to, what? Burn down a few of them? Not enough. Her shields were directional. They couldn't stop a surrounding ambush like this. And surrounding ambush? I'm pretty sure it's meant to be They couldn't stop a no, wait, an ambush, yes, but is it an surrounding ambush, or is it a surrounding ambush? Because it's the ambush, which is the an, but it's got the adjective surrounding. That's an interesting question. I never thought of it that way. Because do you have the an for the surrounding? Like a surrounding ambush, or is it the and for the ambush and surrounding ambush? That's an interesting thought for another time. Anyway, her shields were directional. They couldn't stop an surrounding ambush like this, and her friend Emily in the carriage, even with her strange powers, would likely not be enough either. A walking tree took one step onto the road, and then was swiftly jerked back into the depths of the forest, as if a snare had pulled it backwards with incredible force. Because that's precisely what happened. Metallic twangs sang through the air, more snares firing, logs swinging, trees groaning under weight and howling in rage as the entire forest was rearranging itself. A figure blurred, I can't say the word blurred. I blurred the word blur. That's funny. That's my version of funny. Maybe I'm not funny. Sometimes I think I'm funny sometimes. A figure blurred between the shadows between the trees, pulling a wire here, setting off a trap there, making a quick improvised loop over a branch there. An ambush to ambush was firing off and being adjusted on the fly to compensate for the heavier, non-human foes that had wandered into it. When the majority of the mobile forest army was pulled up... Mobile or mobile? I don't know. I switch between the two a lot. Mobile? Mobile? Yeah, it's kind of weird. It depends upon the situation. Like, I go a mobile phone, not a mobile phone, and it's Mobile Suit Gundam, but, or is it Mobile Suit Gundam? I don't know anymore. I don't know anything! These things are very confusing to me. I don't speak English good. English is not good talking to me. Anyway. When the majority of the mobile forest army was pulled to the ground or up into the branches, the figure finally emerged from the shadows of the dryad's tree arch, appearing behind her, a metal pistol held to her head. Incendiary ammo, the boy spoke, his voice calm, emotionless. If you don't know what that means, it means fire. Human shape means a brain here that I can burn. There's no that in there. Human shape means a brain here I can burn. If not, it'll at least hurt. Friends will be out of the snare soon, I think. Doesn't matter. Call them off or burn. The dryad's hiss was like crackling leaves crunching underfoot. "This is merely an inconvenience, animal. You cannot kill me any more than you can kill the forest." The boy's other arm curled around her neck, hand raised to reveal a red push-button detonator in one hand, thumb on the trigger. "I pushed this. I killed the forest," he said, again with no more feeling one way or another. No rage, simply a series of facts presented in a logical order. "Everything burns. This entire place, everything. Doesn't matter. None of it. Decide now." Wait! Everybody stop! Wait! That voice was loaded with incredibly more emotion. Emily the Witch, a young woman no older than her companions, awkwardly stepped from her hiding place within the hauler's passenger cabin. God, what is with that sequence of words? I can't do those sequence of words. What's wrong with me? Awkwardly stepped from her hiding place within the hauler's passenger cabin. Hauler's passenger cabin. Let's try that one again. That voice was loaded with incredibly more emotion. Emily the Witch, a young woman no older than her companions, awkwardly stepped from her hiding place within the hauler's passenger cabin. She waved her hands wildly, trying to get attention, almost knocking the pointy black hat from her head on the low cabin door frame as she scrambled to get out. Let's try that one again. Almost knocking the pointy black hat from her head on the low cabin door frame as she scrambled to get out. "This is so stupid," she declared. "Everybody, listen to me. Scout, hands off the trigger. Nobody needs to get shot at or blown up today. Now, as a wanderer, one familiar with the corded bonds of wild forests, one respectful of nature's innate power, and with respect to due in turn, screw that one up. Nobody needs to get shot or blown up today. Now, as a wanderer, one familiar with the corded bonds of wild forests, one respectful of nature's innate power, and with respect and due in turn, I hereby request peaceful parley. Peaceful? Where the hell did that T come from? I don't know. I hereby request peaceful parley until the sun falls behind the branches. Damn it, I demand peaceful parley! And in that moment, the ambushes, the bandit currently on his knees in a growing yellow puddle, the bombs, the blasters, none of it mattered to the Dryad. She focused her attention on the one in the familiarly shaped hat instead. "I know the smell of you," the Lady of Trees said, a note of curious surprise in her words. I'm burping again. Blah. "I know the smell of you," the Lady of the Trees said, a note of curious surprise in her words. "A sapling of Lilith, and yet I don't sense her influence about you. You are indeed a strange one. However, you know of the accorded bonds, it seems, and are due respect in turn for your station. Very well. What do you offer?" Exhaling in relief, the witch pushed some of her irritability aside. Trying to keep calm. "Look, not all these trees are yours, okay? I know how dryads work. You have a protectorate forest. You can't possibly claim to be defending the entire wildland in this area." "I suppose not, no," the dryad admitted. "So, you've got no right to stop the animals from logging outside your haven. As much as I know you probably hate it, you're overstepping your jurisdiction, and this crap has got to end. Respectfully, ma'am." "A defiant spout within this one," the dryad said, smirking, if it was possible to do so with lips made of leaves. "Very well. Keep the animals out of my protectorate. They will never be considered for respect as your kind are, witchling, but I will leave them be. You have my word. I trust you will make your friends disarm those animal fire devices? Animal fire devices. I trust you will make your friend disarm those animal fire devices? Yes, of course. Fine. Let her go, Scout. The boy hesitated. No trembling, just considered the situation for a few more moments, rather than blindly obeying, and slipped down out of the trees, landing easily on his feet. The gun and the detonator were held aloft, in a peaceful gesture, then set down. The dryad remained in the branches, watching the trio curiously. You keep strange company, sapling. An outsider with outsider spark? And this one. I would watch this one if I were you. His shadow may hunt for you now, but the wild hunt in him is not something you can leash. Keep the animals out of my forest, and you'll never see me again. Farewell. With business here finished, the forest guardian merged into the woods of the trees themselves, her arch splitting, trees seeming to invisibly... There's no invisibly in there. Trees seeming to visibly shrink back into the tree line. In moments there was nothing unusual. In moments there was nothing unusual about the forest, leaving behind only tall oaks and empty snares. Scout gathered up his weapons before returning to his companions and ignoring the suspicious glare he was getting from the girl in the pointy hat. You never said you were going to plant firebombs in the forest, Emily said. Just the snares for Plan C in case the bandits fled back into the trees. Plan D, the boy said with a shrug. Made sense to me. I really don't like it when people get all secretive and make these kinds of plans behind my back. I thought we were in this together, she said, crossing her arms and tapping her foot. Obvious body language that the boy said blah blah blah. Crossing her arms and tapping her foot. Obvious body language that the boy paid absolutely no attention to. And what she'd mean about the wild hunt in you. What did she mean about being a sapling of Lilith? Scout countered. Anyway, Emily said, changing the subject in the clunkiest manner possible. We'll just redirect the loggers away from the Dryad's realm. Now that I know there's one out here, I can find a ritual spell in my book that'll clearly mark the borders. Guess we're done here. And about freaking time. That paycheck had better be waiting for us when we get back to the village. Or we're not eating tonight. Let's get out of here. Speaking of clunky, that was a very clunky way of me saying that saying that passage. So let's try that one, just one more go again. Wow, going on too long. Anyway, Emily said, changing the subject in the clunkiest manner possible. We'll just redirect the loggers away from the Dryad's realm. Now that I know there's one out here, I can find a ritual spell in my book that'll clearly mark the borders. Guess we're done here. And about freaking time. That paycheck had better be waiting for us when we get back to the village, or we're not eating tonight. Let's get out of here. Not yet. Not yet. The hunter and the witch turned to the silver girl, who still had her energy blaster aimed at the bandit leader. Whose mouth remained agape in shock. Sir, now that you have surrendered, I have a question which is outside the scope of this particular task, but of much personal importance to me, Una spoke, trying to sound as reassuring as someone with a gun to your head can be. I would greatly appreciate your cooperation in this inquiry, and I promise it will not detain you for... What? What? The bandit babbled, having trouble with the big words. The boy spoke up for her. He knew what she was going to ask. It was the question that would be dragging them all over the wilds, after all. He knelt down and looked into the bandit's eyes, his own empty, passionless, but somehow conveying vast importance and vast dangers beyond the scope of a simple forest road altercation. Where, he asked, did you find an orbital's energy blaster? And that was a prologue for Chapter 1 of Anachronauts by Stefan Gagne. And I hope you enjoyed that. That went on for a little bit too long, probably because of the huge introduction that I had at the very beginning of this podcast, of this reading. But it was also, it was a very long introductory section, and I didn't feel like stopping in the middle once I got started. But so that's a fun beginning. I think if you read the rest of it, you will enjoy it. I've actually only read the first book, the first age, so I should probably get on my way and read the rest as soon as I can. Yeah, that's something that I should be getting onto. Yeah. So anyway, that was day 59 of the 100 Days of Narration Challenge. We're in the middle of a Stefan Gagne week. Hope you enjoyed that. God, burping and stomach growling and God, jeez, what the hell, man? What did I eat? I don't remember. Anyway, Day 59 down. Day 60 is tomorrow. So I hope you will join me for then when I do that. Thank you.